In any playoffs, in any esport, there is almost always that one upset that no one saw coming. Newturn destroying Vision Strikers' lossless record to make it to Reykjavik as the Korean representative, Sentinels bombing out of playoffs in the first round looking like a shell of their former selves, Vision Strikers not even making it out of groups, Liquid outperforming Optic in groups only to be first rounded in playoffs, while Fnatic's contingency roster didn't even win a map. Paper Rex's miracle upper bracket run culminating in a grand finals against the redemption-seeking FPX. DRX falling in the lower bracket finals, the closest they'd ever come to an international grand finals. Need I say more? However, this first bracket of VCT Americas in and of itself can compete with every single story we've had at every single international event so far. I'm not an anime person, but we all know that anime person who will tell you it all like this. Okay, so you'll pick it up when you watch it, but we have Loud, and they defeated Optic at Champs to become the reigning world champions. Okay. But then they lost two of their best players to Sentinels, who have been kind of looking for a route back into being one of the best teams in Valorant like they were at the very start, but they're still really good. Loud? Oh, yeah, they're amazing. But Optic, okay, so Optic didn't get a partnership slot, so all of their players and their coach, other than their best player, went over to NRG. And NRG and Loud both finished in the top 3 in the region, so that rivalry could still be there. Right. So they both end up in finals again? I haven't even told you the alternate universe arc yet. Okay, so that star player who was on Optic, didn't get picked up by NRG, he went to Cloud9 because they were trying to build a super team. But then there was like this rift in the universe and something went wrong and he just disappeared from VCT Americas completely. So there's kind of like this parallel universe that's also going on where he's still on Cloud9 and no one really knows how good that team could have been. So they just suck. What has this got to do with the other teams? Well, no. The real universe kept going and Cloud9 slapped in it. I mean, they were so good, people didn't know how they were that good. There's a fan theory that the coach is like an interdimensional wizard or something. It was all gonna get revealed at Tokyo, but then the arc took a turn. Anyway, the reason why this matters is because it was Cloud9 who finished even on win-losses with Loud, not NRG. Okay, but there are 3 Tokyo slots, so they just all went? Okay, so this is where it gets complicated. Like, bro, stop, it's hurting my head. But you can see where this is going. Every time something looks straightforward in VCT Americas, another factor comes in, punches you in the face, steals your lunch money, and runs off with your girl. Wouldn't it have all been so nice if Loud and Optic could have just kept their rivalry and everyone else fall behind? Wouldn't that have been so simple? Cloud9, with their rookie-injected roster and their weird decision-making, were indisputably the best North American team in the region. They actually had a better record than Loud did, but the only team they lost to was Loud, so they came in second seed. So it's all but guaranteed that Cloud9 were going to be making it to Tokyo. The question really was whether it was going to be NRG or Leviathan who'd be joining them. Ha! Now. So Evil Geniuses were a really lackluster team. Even before the 2023 partnerships season, they were just kind of there. Like, they were good enough, but they weren't really notable. They narrowly clinched a playoff spot over Sentinels, but they were coming in with a 4-5 win-loss record, so they were still negative. Partway through the season, they replaced fan favorite BCJ with a relatively unknown player called Demon1 who had come in through their open tryouts, something which they made extremely clear with this tweet. It caused a little bit of a role shuffle in the team because BCJ was just a smokes player and Demon 1 is predominantly a jet player, but this actually didn't seem to be much of a problem for them. In fact, all of EG's wins occurred after Demon 1 was subbed into the roster against Crew, Leviathan, Sentinels, and MIBR, and it definitely helped boost them in the mid-table. I think a lot of people still didn't have super high hopes for EG, and there was a lot of discourse going on about the fact that Potter had been the coach for 2 years and still failed to attain any notable results. If only there had been someone who'd made a video at the beginning of the year about how EG could have been one of the best teams in the region. But maybe the world just isn't ready for that level of analysis yet. But basically, playoffs rolled around and EG were the first ones to throw hands. The status quo and expectation of Loud, C9, and NRG being the three to make it to Tokyo were instantly disrupted by EG winning the first best of 3 against NRG. I don't think anyone expected that to happen. I don't think NRG expected that to happen. It even went as far as Chet going on Twitter to accuse Potter of telling all the other teams of what? It even went so far as Chet going on Twitter to accuse Potter of telling the other teams that NRG had been leaking their scrim VODs. Clearly, this lawsuit had a big hit on NRG. So instantly there was an upset from the get-go, but in a world in which 3 teams were gonna make it to Tokyo, one of them was always gonna have to come in through the lower bracket. So not the end of the world. Yet. Cloud9 had a bye into the second round, just like Loud, because they came in the top 2. And who was gonna beat Cloud9? Who was possibly going to 2-0 Cloud9? Fucking EG, baby! Like, what the hell was happening? Who gave Evil Geniuses the damn right? But it wasn't even just a case of EG being good, but Cloud9 also just not looking like themselves. They so characteristically being that ultra coordinated team, like one fluid motion, that seeing them like this was bizarre. And watching MCE go from calm on the tag timeout to downright angry said everything you needed to know. But with C9 dropping into the lower bracket, that meant that only one out of them and NRG had the chance to qualify for Tokyo. Loud had skated through, and EG, this mid-team, had got themselves a ticket to both Tokyo and Champs. And C9 and NRG were now like, yikes, okay. NRG had an okay time beating Furia, but C9 still looked out of sorts against Leviathan. The real question mark, I feel, is when they lost their perma-pick of Lotus. On this map, we always look at Leaf to pop off. His Neon has been a pivotal part of the way they play, and yet he just wasn't getting that chance. Either missing plays Lev had on them, or just failing to pop off. It looked uncharacteristic. And to be honest, a similar thing happened when C9 played NRG in the next round. This was the point at which we were going to find out which team was following Loud and EG to Tokyo. And once again, C9 lost Lotus. They did win Pearl, which was NRG's pick, and the decider of Haven went into overtime. So overall, this game was close, but ultimately NRG took it. And thus the team that looked arguably the most guaranteed to be going to Tokyo was eliminated. But hold on, the anime doesn't stop there. EG can't actually play with their winning roster. Demon 1, the guy who came into the main lineup midway through the stage and seemingly helped glue the team together in a way that saw them to massive success, cannot enter Japan. According to his stream, he doesn't have a passport at all, although the original rumor was that EG hadn't arranged a visa in time for him. But nope. No passport. That means this miracle run from EG may get prematurely stopped at Masters. I assume that BCJ is going to be the one who gets put into play in his place, and that has a whole host of implications. Firstly, the firepower that Demon 1 brings is going to be missing, but actually I think secondly, the knock-on effect that Demon 1's place in the roster has had on Jorgamo to really allow him to flourish in the second duelist role, that's not going to be there anymore. Also, I can't imagine the kind of imposter syndrome that BCJ is going to be feeling, know that the team subbed him out, did better without him, and now he has to come in and try and save a potentially sinking ship for EG's first ever appearance on a world stage. It is almost like the Fnatic story at Masters Reykjavik 2022. You make do with the situation you have, but you are so impeded by circumstance. I've never seen a sports anime before, but I would imagine that these teams are fitting very well into certain tropes. The lowly, unassuming protagonist, the guy who's really good, but is like, keep going, king. The best friend who was there all along, but slipped a few rungs along the way. And the villain who needed taking down a couple pegs. I don't know, man. I don't even watch horror anime. Like, either way, this whole playoffs bracket has been fucking insane. At the time of recording, last night was the lower bracket finals, so we know that EG have technically come in third place, and NRG are going to be facing Loud tonight in the grand finals, and that's going to be pretty whack. And I could have waited until that game's been done to film this, but at the end of the day, that doesn't really change the way the anime goes. Unless NRG 3-0 Loud, And if that does happen, I'm gonna look like an idiot when I post this. But the real juice of the anime has occurred. I don't know. What do you guys think of the first ever VCT Americas playoff bracket? And I guarantee none of you expected this to happen. If you tell me that you did, you're a fucking liar. I'm so excited for Masters Tokyo after seeing all of this, though. I think it's gonna be... it's gonna be insane. And I will say I'm gutted that Cloud9 aren't there, because... fuck this. Fuck C9. Heartbreaking, but you just gotta get good, bro, I guess. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye. Mwah!